Hey everybody. Oh man. This is a lot of work. This is a lot. I don't know if this camera's pointing at me. You can probably see me now. I really got to get a better camera. It's one of those little flip cameras that I picked up for $100, and it doesn't really do very many things. But you know, it's easy. I've been having this sort of ongoing conversation with a friend on Facebook, and this is a guy that I'm actually friends with. He lives up in Oregon. His name's Carl. Hi, Carl. And I've had these sort of conversations with people before where it's in this long, drawn-out exchange that seems to hinge on a basic disagreement about one thing, and that is that Carl and the people before him that I've had the same argument with in the past, their sense is that this is a really lousy country, that it's corrupt. Most of the people are wage slaves being taken advantage of by the 1%. It's a very negative view, and I just don't understand. I mean, I saw Carl recently. We're both musicians and touring guys. When I'm not painting and Carl isn't doing his thing, his day job, which is he's a ceramicist, makes nice ceramic stuff. But anyway, when we're not doing our other thing, we travel around and play music. And he was down here not too long ago. We had a folk music convention down in Irvine. And my challenge to him is, look, you just drove from your place in Oregon all the way to past my place in Thousand Oaks, all the way down to Irvine, and you passed by literally thousands and thousands and thousands of middle-class homes. And you were passed constantly by people in new cars. How can you not notice that? How can you think that we're virtually a third world country? It's astonishing to me, the notion that there's this very small amount of people that have a ton of wealth, and then it just drops off, and there's this big gap in the middle, and then there's all these huddled masses at the bottom just fighting for scraps. I mean, if anybody knows anything about percentages, they grade. You know, I mean, it's you right below the 1% is the 2%. And then there's the 3% and the 4% and the 17% and the 18%. And then, it goes on and on and on and on. It's a constant drop-off all the way down. There's not just a whole bunch of people at the top. I mean, and then nothing in the middle and then poor people. It's just kind of a cartoon way of looking at things. I don't want to accuse Carl of that. But what I'm wondering about is how you can miss it, how well most people are living. Now, in 2011, I drove around the country quite a bit. I took 11 out-of-town trips with my music, and we would generally, my partner Alexia and I would fly to someplace. I get a lot of frequent flyer miles because she is a traveling consultant and trainer in, get this, the social justice movement. How are we for a pair, huh? It's not a romantic thing, but she is a close confidant, and we do not agree on political matters, obviously. It's actually, we're having more and more trouble kind of bridging that gap, because apparently I'm not going through a phase. But anyway, as we drove around the country, I could not help noticing that almost all the cars are newer than the car that I drive back in Los Angeles. I drive my old work truck, and I'm a hard-working guy, and I could afford a payment if I didn't have the, singer-songwriter habit, which kind of eats up the spare money, because I'm taking time off to go do that, and it doesn't pay as good as this. But had I not done that, there's nothing at all that would have stopped me from, I did get my contractor's license, nothing at all that would have stopped me from hiring a few guys, taking an ad in the paper, showing up on time to do a bid and competing and now be making the kind of money that my buddies who did do that now make. And they make good money. And there are plenty of places to paint. All you got to do is be consistent, work hard, be honest, do good work. In other words, like my mom used to tell me, my mom was a business person. She was a realtor, and she used to always say, you just add a little more value than the other person's adding. If you're going to do business, just give a little more value than the next person. Do a little extra something. But anyway, I don't want to get off the track there. I couldn't help noticing that the cars were all new. We'd go to every restaurant we'd go to was full of people. And everybody was driving cars that were virtually brand new. A couple of years old, maybe. Where were the huge numbers of people that were supposedly poor? And I used to ask Alexia, I would say, well, where are all these poor people that you're always talking about? Where are all... Oh, they live far from the road. Yeah, they're back huddled in they live in the bushes. Well, in my experience, when people get really poor, they go to they go to the city. They don't go out to the country. Now, I have no doubt that there are a number of people, and we're talking Appalachia and places like that. Sure, there are some poor people in this country. No doubt about it. But, boy, what we're calling poor in this country is kind of stretching the definition of poor. They keep doing studies that come out every now and then, and it turns out, most people living below the poverty line have more than one computer in the house. Or not computer, more than one color TV. Most of them have a computer. Most of them have a smartphone, or at least a cell phone. They have cars. They have nice clothes. They've got the Xbox, most of them. It's just, frankly, they're most of them fat. We're not starving. And I'm hearing this all the time. People are starving. The Republicans are starving us to death. Where are the starving people? Now, I live in Los Angeles. Well, I live in Thousand Oaks, but I work in Los Angeles most of the time and play music here, so I'm in LA a lot. And I'm also at Home Depot a lot, because every neighborhood I go to, I need to go to a Home Depot. So I toggle back and forth between Home Depot, my job site, and the 7-Eleven, which is where I go to get my big gulp at lunch. And I see, to me, that's a microcosm. And maybe it's my particular microcosm, but I'll tell you what type of microcosm it is in my view. At the 7-Eleven, I almost always am hit up for spare change. Almost always. And at the Home Depot, I am almost always hit up for work. Because, it's pretty obvious that I'm a painter. I'm usually in my truck. And it's pretty obvious when I'm pulling into the Home Depot parking lot that I'm a guy that's there from a job site, going back to a job site, and people rush me to see if they can get a job. And the further I get into the inner city, the more I am rushed. Let's see what this. And those people are uniformly Hispanics, right? These people are uniformly Hispanics. And when I get out, when I get to the 7-Eleven, I'm always hit up for money, not for work, for just a handout. And those people are uniformly not Hispanics. So the people who are here from real poor countries, from where they still have a functioning definition of poverty, not this sort of ginned up, crazed, notion that anybody who's not making quite as much as somebody else is officially poor. Where they know what real poverty is, those people are thrilled to be here, thrilled to be here, working very, very hard. Now, if people who are simply looking for work and not finding any are starving to death, let me ask you this. Where are all the dead Mexicans? Where are all the dead El Salvadorans? Wouldn't we be finding them like behind the Home Depot, you know, clutching their bellies where they starve to death? Get out of here. Nobody's starving to death in America. Everybody's driving a nice car in America. I mean, I work at homes very regularly that have a pool guy, yard guy, and a domestic person working inside. Usually, oftentimes not an everyday thing, but I'll be there if I'm there for a couple weeks doing an exterior, very often, once a week, a couple of Hispanic women will show up to do the housework. And they're driving pretty nice cars. I mean, really, I'm not kidding you here. They're driving cars nicer than my truck. You know, because my truck is a pretty low bar to exceed. But they're not starving either. Where are all the starving people? What is Carl talking about? So the other day I was driving here. It was the second day that I worked here, so it's about, I guess I'm on day 9 now. So just about 7 work days ago, I was driving here, and I was in a little red car. Sometimes I brought over most of my tools, and I drive back and forth in a little Toyota Echo that Alexia gave me, her little extra old car. I drive that little car. It's high mileage, but it runs good, and it virtually runs on air. So I drive that when I'm working far from home, if I possibly can, but sometimes I forget to put gas in it because, it doesn't seem to need it very often. So I get on the freeway and I make it about 5 miles, and maybe 10. I run out of gas in Simi Valley on the 118. You can look that up if you're an out-of-state observer. And Simi Valley is just a kind of a exurb. It's far out. Is that the right word? It's not close into the city at all. It's sort of a distant suburb of Los Angeles. Also maybe a distant suburb of Ventura. But mostly it's across the Susana Pass from the San Fernando Valley. So if you can't quite afford to buy a house in the San Fernando Valley, you can get one in Simi Valley probably. It's a little bit further out. This is not a place where the rich go to die. It's, just a place where people go that want to buy a house and settle down. A lot of LAPD cops live there. It was in the news when the Rodney King thing was going because apparently a lot of cops live there. Anyway, I'm standing on the side of the road waiting for the tow truck guy to come and give me my $9 worth of gasoline, which I can get with AAA. And I got nothing to do except wait 40 minutes. And I just had this ongoing conversation with Carl about how poor everybody in America is except the 1%. And so I thought, well, I wonder if this automobile thing is just that I'm not paying attention. Maybe I'm missing all the junkers driving by because I'm, for some reason, automotively optimistic. So I started counting. I actually started counting the cars going by. And and I would count it. I would 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And every time a car went by that was old enough to be considered no longer late model, like say you were describing it to the cops, somebody had, hit a little old lady in a crosswalk and, hey, it's a late model Chevrolet or whatever. Every time a car that could be described as not late model, in other words, an older car, went by, I counted on a finger. I would do that with one of my fingers. Now, I made it to 100 before I did that even once. And I made it to 200 by the time I had done that twice. By the time I counted to 300, I had exactly 4 sightings of cars that were not late model. And, where the hell are these people? It's a freaking myth. We got some poor people, but they're nowhere near as many of them as the ones who are not poor. Where is this, this is the middle class. I think what's happened is that people have just raised their expectations so high of what they think it means to be middle class that they're feeling like it's hopeless. And we had an awful lot of people that lost homes, and so we're looking at the people that lost their homes and saying, oh, the middle class is gone because X number of people lost homes. That was an anomaly. That was a crazy thing. I mean, some people decided it would be really a smart idea to get more people in homes who are poor credit risks. Oh, that's a good idea. Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. Let's go lend money to people guaranteed not to be able to pay it back, because that's helping them. So we've had a lot of people lose their homes over the last few years. I'm upside down and over that same bad deal. But that's an anomaly. That has nothing to do with my earning power. So I wonder what it is. I wonder what's so attractive about focusing on the downside of your country. I mean, every time I turn on one of these motivational guys, I've been doing that a little bit lately because I'm trying to up my game in a couple of aspects. I've been looking at a couple of guys like Brian Tracy. Every one of these guys, they always say, attitude is just about everything. Lincoln used to say that. A man is about as happy as he decides to be. And, or like many people say, your attitude, what is it, how does it go? It's really corny, you'll love this. Your attitude determines your altitude. And I think it's certainly, given equal factors, the person with the better attitude will get hired first, will find love first, will do everything better, will be more popular. If you walk in and you're certain you're not going to make it, if you listen to a dim bulb like Elizabeth Warren who tells you the system is skewed against you, everything out there is designed to keep you out of the elite, you are doomed to failure because the system is bad. She doesn't want your best interest. Either that or she's never heard the whole attitude altitude quote that I've been so kind to give you. But I think everybody that I know who's wise tells me, be grateful. Look for opportunity, be grateful for the opportunities that are given to you, and keep a good attitude. If you can either look at the bad side or look at the bright side, go for the good. If you can look at the good side or the bad side, I don't know if I said that right. Look for what is good and move toward that thing. Don't sit around on Facebook 5 hours every day trying to convince other people that the country we share is a corrupt, rigged joint where you, no matter your best efforts, in spite of your hard work, in spite of your best efforts, you will fail, and it's because these motherfuckers are doing it to you. What is the possible upside? This I asked Carl. Please, Carl, either make your own video or tell me in the comments, because I'm dying to know what the upside is to that. Thanks. I'm going to turn this off. Continue my job.